What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Thursday edition of NBA Live here at FTNDaily.com, presented to you as always by Superdraft Daily Fantasy. My name is Zach Graham, aka Kawhisenberg DFS, aka Mutey McMuteface, and I am joined by my good buddy with the fresh threads on, Adam Pfeifer. How you doing?
Basketball. Football doesn't exist, so let's talk about some basketball. No, these 2-game slates are already tend to be not as exciting, but then we get LeBron James not playing, and I almost went to this game. So yeah, not the most exciting slate, but it's still basketball, and again, football doesn't exist, so we're here to talk basketball.
Yeah, and we will do plenty of that. Only 2 games on this slate, and I know you, me, and everybody else has been pretty frustrated with the way the schedule has been a roller coaster.
It was so good for like a month. It was so good.
Yeah, and it's been like 2.5, 3 weeks now where we get like 2 dud slates every week. But from here until the Super Bowl, after this 2-game slate, we have no slates less than 5 games for, 16 days straight. So greener pastures ahead in terms of the number of games on our NBA slates. And I said we'll talk plenty of basketball tonight because we're not just going to break down this 2-game slate over the next 56 minutes. But once we hit lock, we're going to bring on our FTN NBA podcast co-host, Conrad Joseph Metz the Sixth. He will be here, and we are going to watch the first half of this game live. We're going to talk that game, talk some hoops, interact with the chat, kind of let them choose some topics, and again, watch the first half of that game. So that should be fun. We'll throw that up on the pod feed once we're done. So 2+ hours here on the NBA live stream. Shout out Thomas, the producer extraordinaire, for sticking with us for the extended episode here today. And again, man, like we don't really have to rush into it today, but I guess we can just start with the news here. This first game, no LeBron James. And, the Mason Jones, Kendrick Nunn, Sekou Doumbouya, those guys are also out for this team. But other than that, the Lakers healthy. I think still a little bit of ambiguity around the minutes load for Anthony Davis tonight. Did play almost 25 minutes in his return against Brooklyn the other night. So I guess let's start with the visiting Lakers here. Let me refresh the board because I know the line was sliding in favor of the Sixers all day. The slide continues now. Sixers 6-point favorites here. So with the underdog Lakers now shorthanded without their best player, how are you approaching this team just, I guess, at first glance?
Yeah, I mean, given the still uncertainty with Anthony Davis's minutes, and you mentioned it when we got the initial news that LeBron was going to be questionable, that this is the front end of a back-to-back. So do you really think they just play Anthony Davis 37 minutes in a close game in a second game back? I don't know. So he has obviously underwhelmed, but Russell Westbrook with LeBron off the floor, 25% rebounding rate, 23% assist rate. Like, I don't care if he's not hitting shots anymore when when LeBron's out of the lineup. He's just going to have the ball in his hands so much. And because it's been a down year for him, this isn't a situation where it's 10-8, 11K Russell Westbrook. It's 8-5 Russell Westbrook. And are his, rates the same as they were during his time in Oklahoma City and during his time in Houston with Harden out? No, but they're still very good. And whether, he fits this Los Angeles team or not, from a real life perspective, from a fantasy perspective, when LeBron's off the floor, he's still pretty damn good. So,
yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's really you cited the increases that he gets in his rates, the usage, I think around 32%. Takes a little bit of a hit when he shares the court with Anthony Davis, with LeBron off, but it's still in that 30 range. So about a 2% increase, I believe, from his just overall usage this season. Obviously, as you mentioned, way down from what we're used to in his career, certainly over the last few years. But it's just the price, man. Like 8.5 on DK, as you said, this is still a guy averaging well over a fantasy point per minute. And on this 2-game slate, like, dude, FanDuel, he's 7-8. Like, I think this is the night. Like, I would assume once we get some clarity on ownership projections as we go through the next 50 minutes or so, we can have that discussion. But like we were talking before we went live, and like I think this is the night. Not that it's a hot take or anything with LeBron out and the cheap price, but I think this is the night where I'm just pushing all the chips in on Westbrook, because I think there's a really good chance, especially on a site like DraftKings where we get the bonus. I think this is going to end up a triple double for Russ when all is said and done. But how about Anthony Davis, right? The other stud here, center only on DraftKings is unfortunate. He does have forward eligibility on FanDuel and our sponsor, Superdraft. What do you think the minutes ceiling is here for Anthony Davis? Averaging like 34.5 on the year. Again, 25-ish minutes in that return. Like, are you surprised to see him exceed 30 here with LeBron out?
I mean, it depends. Like, if their mindset is to just play him, because it's like this team needs to win games. Like, they're still towards the bottom of the Western Conference. So, like, I don't know if they can just say, you know what, we have a game on Friday, let's just play Davis 25. Like, this is a game they need to win. So maybe they just say we'll just play Davis 30 to 33 minutes potentially, and then he just won't play Friday. If we knew Davis wasn't playing on Friday, I would say maybe he does play closer to 33, 32 minutes. And if he does, with the usage bump he gets with LeBron off the floor, yeah, he's obviously he looks very good. But you also have just the most dominant player in the league right now at center on the slate who will be going up against. And you have Karl-Anthony Towns, who is, cheaper, safer minutes by a lot. So it's tough. This being the front of the back-to-back definitely puts a little bit of in question for the minutes, because again, like, say they didn't play till like Sunday or something after this game. Okay, maybe Davis plays 33 minutes, but again, it's also just a second game back too, and he missed he was out since the middle of December. So
yeah, it was like 6 weeks, right? I'm going to be interested to see the ownership come in when Kyle gets his update here some point soon, because like you said, like, this team needs wins. They are on the front end of the back-to-back here, and I'll go ahead and bring T-Panther's comment in here. He starts off, man, fuck LeBron, which sure. But he says, the reason he's resting tonight is so he can stick it to the Hornets and MJ tomorrow. So T-Panther's saying, lock button that shit in now for Friday's slate.
Well, LeBron tweeted like after he was rolled out that he was not happy.
Yeah, I threw that in the Discord. It was like 3 angry emojis and 3 face palms.
So I don't know if that's like him being mad that he is hurt, or if he's mad that like he wants to play and they just said
his
no.
knee hurts. Yeah,
right. So I don't know, but yeah, that'll be interesting. Who do you think starts? Because last game it was Bradley, Stanley Johnson, Westbrook, LeBron, AD. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're probably
Taylor Horton Tucker.
I think it's THT.
He actually, his 22% usage is not bad for him with LeBron off the floor. Almost 0.9 fantasy points per minute. So
yeah, well, and it's for me with THT, it's about his price today. 3.5 on DK, 4K flat on FanDuel. He's less of a priority for me on our sponsor, Superdraft, 1.8x. I think I would rather just go Malik Monk there, 1.7x. And again, it's all about the raw points there with no salaries. So I don't know if I can prioritize him over there. But now THT over on Superdraft, certainly in play now, where I was going to completely avoid him before. I guess let's kind of expand the Lakers value talk here, because the rest of the pieces pretty much are value. The highest outside of Davis and Westbrook, the highest price player on DK is Malik Monk at 4.5. Then you've got Carmelo at 4.3, THT at 3.5. I think those are the 3 primary pieces of value on the wing that we want to target. But when you're looking at those 3 guys, obviously the lineup will dictate or maybe change our priorities here. But when you just look at those 3, who do you like best?
THT. I just think he has the safest floor for minutes. But like THT and Melo are the only 2 that actually see usage, right? Like Bradley and Bazemore, their usage rates are both below 13.5%. Like that's not going to get it done. Same with Austin Reeves. So it would be THT and Melo in that value range. Melo could easily close this game too. Like, wouldn't surprise me if Melo closed, if this game's closed and they just go with Melo. But they could, it could be Melo and THT. Maybe Bradley doesn't close. So, I mean, 2-game slate, like they're all in play, but I still don't see a massive ceiling for Avery Bradley because he just has to hit the few shots he does get.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in lockstep with you. THT, again, it's just the price considered there, where you're saving 1,000 off Monk, 800 off Melo. Small forward only. You don't have a ton of flexibility, but again, 2-game slate. THT is a priority for me, especially like if he starts, I would just go ahead and lock in that value. But how about, what are the chances here? I think we're going to see at least backup minutes from old Dwight Howard here. I guess you could call it a revenge game, right? His former Sixer. But if he starts, he's 3-1 on DK. So I think in play regardless, but say he starts, how much Dwight interest do you have? They need the bodies to go up against the MVP favorite in Joel Embiid. Still well above a fantasy point per minute guy is Dwight Howard. Are you going to have a lot of love for him if he gets the start?
Yeah, he's definitely in play. It's just, again, it's a 2-game slate, but you still have Embiid and Davis and Towns at center. And even Kevon Looney's been decent with Draymond out because the minutes have been a little bit solidified. But either way, whether it's Embiid and then when he comes out, it's Drummond. So, Dwight Howard, I would say if you get 20 minutes from Dwight Howard at 3,100, he can produce. We've seen that. 13 minutes, 18.5 fantasy points. 22 minutes, 23 fantasy points. 21 minutes, almost 20 fantasy points. 15 minutes, over 18 fantasy points. So there's a much better chance of him getting to 20-plus minutes, and at the price given the slate, that's appealing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's and Herm in the chat was saying, wouldn't Dwight most naturally slide into the starting lineup because the Lakers usually don't prefer to start Anthony Davis at center? I don't disagree with that take at all. And then he adds, Embiid will light whoever starts. He will light them up tonight. I also agree with that.
I also wonder, second game back, we talked about some of the concerns with, limitations. If they just say, all right, Anthony Davis, go right at center and go against Joel Embiid, who's dominating every single opponent. Maybe we'll let you start at the 4, so you're not going against Embiid every possession.
Sure.
Not that Davis, when healthy, isn't capable, but right now maybe they just say, you know what, start at the 4. We'll let Dwight go up against Embiid. So, I mean, either way, it's most likely Dwight at the 5, Davis at the 4, or THT starts for LeBron and Davis plays the 5.
Yeah, man, I wouldn't be surprised to see a number of different guys slot into the lineup here. It's just LeBron has played not just a ton of minutes this game, but this season, excuse me. But has played, I think, probably more games this year percentage-wise than in the last 2 years, up to this point of the season. He's kind of been an Iron Man compared to his last couple years in the league. It's a little bit unprecedented, I think, with this roster to just have LeBron out and have Anthony Davis and Russ there. I can go ahead and double-check my claim there and make sure that I'm not, there wasn't an 8-game stretch where LeBron was out and those two guys played. You throw it right back in my face. I guess was there really 12 games where LeBron sat and both of those guys played? Because that's what I'm seeing here.
It was so early in the year. I guess that's why. I do remember. I thought it was more 6 or 7. 12 though. Again, it was very early in the season, but yeah, I guess it was 12.
Yeah, so fuck me, right? Let's look at some of these other guys, the more or the less appetizing names to slot into lineups tonight, but I think we have to consider them given the 2-game slate and LeBron's absence. Like you talked about, You touched on Stanley Johnson a little bit earlier, has been getting the start. I would expect him to stay in the lineup here, and maybe a little bit rosier outlook for him with LeBron off. Single-digit usage for Stanley Johnson over the last 2 games, and you've seen it in his 51 minutes. He's put up 20 total fantasy points. But 3-3, like if he gets the start again, if I'm running 20 lineups, I might have a share or two of starting Stanley in there, and certainly some shares if I was running 150 lineups. Then you've got Austin Reeves, priced above Talon Horton Tucker, Stanley Johnson, Avery Bradley, and Dwight Howard.
The still perplexed Austin Reeves.
Yeah, one of the best live reaction shots that I've seen in a while. He'll probably play into the 20s in minutes here. Not a great fantasy producer at all, but I think somebody that I would reserve for a build of 150, 100 to 150 lineups is where I would get to some Austin Reeves. What about you? Like, you think Ariza gets back into the lineup here? He was a DNP CD last game. Like, how about these? You mentioned Bazemore earlier. He's been out of the lineup for a while now. How are you feeling about those guys?
Yeah, I would prefer. It's interesting because in this game now with LeBron out, you have what? THT, Bradley, Stanley Johnson, potentially Dwight Howard, Austin Reeves, Melo. He's not in the 3K range, and then on the other side, you have Matisse Thybulle, I think is interesting in that 3K range. So there's legitimately 4 or 5 viable mid 3K players in this game. I think, again, it's a 2-game slate, so you could just, if you're running multiple lineups, just kind of, Stanley Johnson in one and hope the minutes are there and he actually can, get, fall into some That's the problem with a lot of these players. Mm-hmm. They don't have their usage rates other than Melo, THT, and then obviously Russ and Anthony Davis. The usage rates are all below 15% for these players. So they have to either have an outlier shooting performance or just walk into rebounds or stocks. So it's tough. Stanley Johnson feels like the safest just because he's clearly been a huge part of the rotation. They just signed him for the rest of the season, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2-year deal, actually. Yeah, it's a 2-year deal. So they've liked what he's given them defensively. Same with Avery Bradley, which is why Bradley's been starting so much and playing pretty safe minutes. So outside of THT and Melo, I would go with Johnson and Bradley next, just because I think they're the safest projections for minutes. But I mean, Reeves could have a nice game and play 28 to 30 minutes. It's possible. I mean, Trevor Ariza, I think he's back in the rotation in this game, but could still max out at 18 minutes.
Yeah, I do not disagree with you. Let's flip to the other side here.
Joel Embiid.
Yeah, yes. Let's start there. We just talked about Embiid for 15 minutes last night on the pod.
So stupid.
Yeah.
We talked about him for 15 minutes recording the podcast yesterday, and then I write the article for today. The last 2 weeks, do you want to guess his rates the last 2 weeks?
No, just lay it on me. Anything I guess is going to be too low, I feel like.
43.2% usage, 36% rebounding rate, 1.84 fantasy points per minute. And then in January alone, averaging 34.5 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.5 blocks. And as we talked about, he's legit only 33%. Again, only this month, but he's shooting 38% in the season. It's just, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, we talked about it last night. I think only 1 out of his last 15 games has he scored less than 31
is
real
he underpriced?
Points. Yeah, absolutely.
Seriously. What are we doing?
I mean, at this point, right? He's been producing at Jokic type levels. And I think maybe if you went back over that span that you just mentioned, he may be outproducing Jokic on a point per minute.
And the other
basis.
thing is, he will not come close to Jokic's assist totals, but he's been a lot better passing out of double teams, and you've seen 4, 5, 6 assist games. A lot of that's obviously been games without Maxey, but with Seth Curry out too, the last couple games, 4, 6, 5, 6 assists. That's on top of him. Essentially, he might be right now with Durant hurt, the lock for a player to score 30 real points in a game. He just keeps doing it, and the rebounds are always going to be there. And now he's getting 4, 5, 6 assists a game. It's just it's absurd.
Yeah, dude, that one game that he didn't score over 31 in the last 15, 25, 13, and 6 in the double-digit win over the Celtics. So, yeah, MVP favorite, and for a good reason. For our purposes tonight, I mean, are you just locking him in, or do you think this is a spot where, like, maybe is it getting too cute, I guess, to fade Embiid? Because I imagine, let me pull up, I'm trying to see, no update yet from Kyle, but I believe was the highest owned projected player on the last update.
I just don't know how you get away from it. Not only that, but like Anthony Davis talked about the concerns, and then Towns is a very good player, but he's been more of a floor play in fan. Like his ceiling is like 50, right?
Yeah,
he'll have the occasional like 40-point real game, but when Edwards and Russell are in, his ceiling's right around 50, and like. If you think Towns can go off tonight, which I think he can against Golden State, sure. But like Embiid, it's just like, especially if Tobias Harris is out. Like, what if he sits? I mean, do we see a 50% usage rate? Like
that's another thing I guess we didn't really touch on is that Tobias Harris is a game time decision. I think reportedly went through his normal
I think he's going to play.
Routine. Yeah, missed shoot around though, right?
Yeah, but like, it doesn't even matter if he does play. Like, all that 2-week span has been mostly with Tobias Harris anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did, just as I was talking there, I think I was looking at the ownership projections right as Kyle was shooting that update through there. Russell Westbrook, 92% projected ownership on DK. I think it's going to come in a little bit under that, but just to illustrate how much the field is running towards Russ there at that cheap price. I think it's for good reason here. I think he's just kind of one of the building blocks. If I'm running one lineup, it's not crazy to fade him if you're in a large field single entry tournament or something like that. But man, he just looks great tonight. And now Embiid projected for only 40% ownership on DK. So like, is that too low in your mind?
I think so.
Right? Like now I think I have interest in getting up to Embiid, and you shouldn't have too much trouble getting up there and pairing him with Russ and maybe even another stud from the second game with all the Lakers value that's opened up. And I guess some of the value we can talk about here from this team, like let's come back to Tobias and Tyrese Maxey. Still no, obviously Ben Simmons, no Seth Curry, no Shake Milton. Danny Green is back for this team, but will be limited to 15 minutes. So in my eyes, he's kind of taking a large chunk of those 15 from like Charlie Brown Jr. and Isaiah Joe. And so kind of all three of those guys just out of play for me. But how do you feel about Furkan Korkmaz, who's been playing massive minutes, 39, 37, and 37 over his last three, 4-8 on DK, guard forward eligible. And then Matisse Thybulle, who was back last game and played 33 minutes. Again, not a great fantasy producer, but 3-6 on this slate, certainly in play. How are you prioritizing those guys?
Yeah, we talked about a lot of the players from Los Angeles and how they don't have a lot of usage. That's pretty much Matisse Thybulle, 11.2% with Tobias and Curry off the floor. But and you don't like to rely on them, but he's like same with Robert Covington, same with a handful of other players. Like they just get steals and blocks. It just happens. So because of that, he's still at like 0.8 points per minute. I've been watching a lot of this team, though, and he has been the guy when Embiid's in the post and getting doubled that cuts to the basket and gets easy dunks, and Embiid's been finding him. So I still think, like, I like Matisse regardless of Tobias' status because we already knew Curry and Shake Milton were going to be out. Mm-hmm. So I think he would be, like, how would you rank Matisse and the players from LA that aren't Melo and THT, and then obviously Russ and AD?
Yeah, I think I'm probably taking Thybulle and the minutes over a guy like an Avery Bradley, as long as he's still coming off the bench. Still just straight up over Stanley Johnson, even with LeBron out.
It doesn't sound like a lot, but if Tobias does sit, Matisse has to take like, again, it doesn't sound like a lot, but 10 shots, which is...
That's a ton for him, right?
That's what I'm saying. So...
Let's see, with Tobias off this year, I'll go ahead and I got to click more players into the off-court option there. Let's go back to those guys up top, I guess, with Tobias, right? If he plays 7-3 on DK, so still hovering around that 7K range, has come down over the last couple weeks in terms of price, still 8-1 over there on FanDuel. And I think he's a really attractive play if he's in on our sponsor Superdraft at 1.35x. Again, this Lakers team is especially on this slate, I think the 1-2 target against, and Embiid obviously going to take a ton of that usage, but Tobias Harris is second in line as long as he's active. Is that somebody you're prioritizing? Certainly in like any non-Embiid lineups, right?
Yeah, like his rebounds have been pretty strong lately. The shot volume, he should take 16 to 20 shots. He's definitely fine, and same with Korkmaz. For me, like I think I'd rather play him at his price, and I know it's different positions than Maxey at his. Maxey's just he's been like anywhere between like 23 and 35 fantasy points, which at his price isn't going to crush you, but it's just not really excited about it. Despite this being a pace-up game, obviously, massive pace-up spot, that's good for Maxey, and they might actually play faster with LeBron out.
Yeah, I think like with Maxey though, like he's so cheap around the industry for the minutes he's going to play. Obviously the fantasy rates haven't really followed over the last couple weeks. You see, like a 46-minute outing against the Clippers, 35 DK points, 42 minutes against the Spurs down in San Antonio last week, and 32.5 DK points. But like at 6'4", those type of performances are certainly not going to kill you and could end up optimal at the end of a 2-game slate like this one. He's 5'8" on FanDuel, and I think my favorite place to play him is on Superdraft, where he's 1.55x. Like getting 40 minutes of a guy at 1.55x sounds pretty good to me, as long as he's not, Stanley Johnson or Avery Bradley, somebody like that. It's Tyrese Maxey. He's not that bad in terms of his fantasy rates. So I think that's my favorite place to get exposure to him, but I have no issue getting to him with some volume and MME builds across the spectrum of sites. Last guy I wanted to talk about here, and I guess we could touch on George Niang as well, but Andre Drummond on DraftKings is down to 3.8, right? And like this play stood out more to me as a really solid tournament play before the Lakers news, before LeBron was out. But like 3.8, like that's too cheap for Andre Drummond if he's going to get even 15 or 16 minutes, still well above a fantasy point per minute player. And on this slate, like we got to find ways to get different in these large field tournaments. How do you feel about Andre Drummond? And like, is he somebody that you would set a rule where you wouldn't stack him with Embiid, or is that a way that maybe you could get different tonight?
I think it would be very different. I don't think I would play him with Embiid, but same kind of situation as Dwight Howard, but maybe even better. Like if he can get up to 20 minutes, he can double off the bench in 20 minutes. It's entirely possible. So I think that's an interesting way to go on a slate like this, right? Like, especially because after really Towns and Embiid, there are question marks at the center position on this slate. And like, especially if like Dwight doesn't start, then like, because if Dwight starts, you feel better about Dwight obviously than Drummond. But if Dwight doesn't start, then you can just go to Drummond if you wanted to get different. So I think it's interesting. And then if Tobias sits, like there could be times where they just kind of give Embiid a little bit more rest. And like, I just think this game could easily, like, if Tobias sits, the game has a better chance of staying close, obviously. But Philadelphia's also missing key players like Milton, Curry, Green only playing 15 minutes. Like, so it might just stay close. It might just stay close regardless. Yeah.
I think that's something, just going back to that pairing of the two Philly centers, that's something I would certainly consider if I was running 20 plus lineups. I think I would have more than one lineup where I paired the two, because that Embiid is able to get this elevated production, 65.5 DK points over his last 5 games. He's doing that in less than 31.5 minutes. And you're getting all those other center minutes are going to Drummond. So if you're getting 32 minutes of Embiid and 16 minutes of Drummond, getting the 48 minutes of Philadelphia center tonight, I think crazier things have happened than that pairing ending up in the optimal in a large field tournament. The probability of that is not high, but again, like on this short slate, those are the types of things we have to do.
And with the second unit, like it's not like Drummond. Like, it's not like Drummond only gets points with the second unit off putbacks. Mm-hmm. Like, he actually gets decent usage with the second unit. And because Korkmaz is a relatively high usage player and he's starting, no longer on the second unit, Shake Milton's not there, like, their second unit isn't going to have high usage players.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and we did just get the lineups here, Adam. Lakers are starting Malik Monk. So I think maybe one of the four guys that we thought maybe could get the start. But I think the one that neither of us thought would actually get in there. So just bumped him up. I mean, with the minutes solidified there for Malik Monk, we saw earlier this season, really about a month ago, right, when it was kind of Malik Monk week or like a 2-week span there where he was really popping off from a fantasy standpoint. If you look at the beginning, or it was really the beginning of this month, he had a 4-game stretch where he exceeded 41.25 DK points in 3 out of 4 games. And we know his propensity for scoring going back to not just his days in Charlotte, but as a college player. And so at 4-5, getting the start here, Malik Monk, a priority for me. And I feel like with THT coming off the bench, do you still have the same level of love for him? Because I still think I would roster him a ton just because of the price.
Yeah, I still like him. And like, he's still he's still a high usage player, relatively high usage player. So the minutes may not be as safe with him coming off the bench now, but I do like the usage and opportunities he'll have when he's on the floor. And he can still, again, like outside of Russ and potentially AD, it's up for grabs who closes this game. It really is. Mm-hmm. They could go they could close with Melo, they could close with THT, they could close with Dwight Howard. Like they close that. I wouldn't be surprised if they closed any different way.
Before we shift to the second game, and I know
you said Tobias is in, by the way,
right? He's listed in the starting lineup. It's Maxey, Korkmaz, Tybal, Tobias, and Embiid. So I guess I would take that as confirmation that he is in and playing, but no tweet yet from the underdogs, the fantasy labs, etc., saying that he's actually in. But again, listed as a starter. A couple of things here before we move to the game. I want to get to some questions. I want to ask you, have you seen anything today about Anthony Davis's minutes limit? Any update at all?
I've not.
So like that just, the thought is creeping into my mind that
what if he plays 35 minutes?
Yeah, dude, because if he plays 34, 35 minutes, like he's going to smash. I don't care about the matchup. He's 9.8. He's too cheap. He's got the power forward eligibility on FanDuel and on Superdraft.
Also, like, I'm sure there might be some minutes where they play Howard and Davis together, and that means he's going against Tobias Harris and company, and that's just not going to work. It is interesting because, even if he plays 31, 32 minutes, under 10K with no LeBron, like, it's very interesting. By the way, Jokic and LeBron, all-star captains. Oh, sorry, no. LeBron's the all-star captain. They were announcing the starters.
Gotcha.
Jokic obviously starting, no surprise.
Doing their TNT thing. I think we get the draft, all-star draft, I think is next week after the reserves are announced. So that'll be fun to compare to what we listed on the FTN NBA podcast last week when we did our all-star
dude, picks. Bias aside,
yeah,
I didn't have Garland in when we did that.
Yeah.
I think he's in now.
I had him in, right? I think I had him in.
Yeah,
maybe
he
was my first. No, he was my first alternate. He was my first alternate.
So none of us had him in, but it was
wait a second,
because I had Van Vliet in.
No,
that's not true, right?
Okay.
That's
no.
That's.
Are you looking at the Stein tweet or something else about Wiggins?
He's a starter.
And this is why you shouldn't let the fans fucking vote, because that's fucking ridiculous. Come on, man.
So I'm assuming. Wait. So that means John Morant's not starting the All-Star game, right? That's what that means.
This is a fucking joke now. Not that the All-Star game is serious, but like
I guess not necessarily. Like maybe they originally had Draymond and Draymond's not going to play, or they had Gobert and.
There's no way that Wiggins was like the first. This is 100% the fans. It's 100% the Warriors fans.
Just first time as an all-star, and he's
Yeah,
starting.
yeah, and he's not an all-star. Nowhere close. What the fuck? All right, let's fucking lock back in. I'm sure there's a topic. There's the first topic we can dive into.
I just need to know if Ja Morant's starting, because if he's not, there's something wrong.
Yeah. Devin Booker, Tyreek saying, okay, look, that'll be our first topic on the live stream podcast after lock here. If you are watching us on YouTube, hit that like button. 50 of you watching now, only 9 likes. We got to get that ratio up. Let's slide to this second game here. Actually, no, I told everybody I was going to answer the questions that we had lined up here. Ezekiel's asking a 2v2. Maxey and Malik Beasley, who we'll talk about here in a second, or Malik Monk and Jordan Poole, also in the second game.
First side.
Okay. I lean slightly to the second. But those are very close. I think the first one is probably safer with Maxey in there. Let's see, Stanley starting. Yes, sir. We playing Wiggins tonight now? Well, shit. We'll talk about that. So Western Conference All-Star starters: Captain Bron, Jokic, Curry,
Okay.
Ja.
Okay, so Gobert didn't get in, which he's gonna make the team, but
no Donovan Mitchell, no Devin Booker. Come on.
I was gonna say, just put anybody. Like, I understand Golden State's one of the 3 or 4 teams in the NBA that should have 2 starters. But just put Draymond as a starter, and then if he
fucking
does get
DeJounte
ruled
Murray
out,
deserves it over Andrew Wiggins.
Yep, and I bet you DeJounte Murray doesn't even get in now.
Yeah, he's taking a fucking spot from the reserves.
That's what I'm saying. It's not the fact that he's starting; it's the fact that he's an all-star, which most people didn't have him as, I would imagine. So that means, DeJounte Murray, somebody's not getting in from the West now.
I mean, I just this has to fuck, man. All right, we'll talk about this after. God damn it! All right, Minnesota at Golden State, the second game of tonight's TNT doubleheader. Last refresh had the Warriors as 6-point home favorites here, 229.5 implied total. Let's start with the visiting Wolves. Patrick Beverley not expected to play, still out. I guess technically not out, but doubtful, unlikely to play with the lingering ankle issue. Jalen Noel expected to play. I believe was having some back soreness. So looking at this team on DraftKings, Adam, 6-point underdogs. You've got Karl Anthony Towns at center, cheaper by $600 than Anthony Davis, than Anthony Edwards. Little price hike over the last couple games, up to 8-1. D'Angelo Russell 7-5. So I guess start with D'Lo. With no Patrick Beverley, for me, he's my favorite guy to get to. Out of the pool of 2. Between him and Anthony Edwards, I would rather D'Angelo Russell tonight. Slight revenge game, right? Ex-Warrior D'Angelo Russell. How do you feel about those 2 guys?
Yeah, Russell's played 35 minutes in 2 of the last 3. 7,500. He's kind of been in that same boat where it's like, if you get 50, it's a great game from him, but he's usually in that 35 to 47 range. But again, 7,500, high pace game against Golden State. I think that's obviously very intriguing. Towns is still in play too. I think all 3, we've seen, Edwards can break a slate. Mm-hmm. We know that. And I don't know if Russell has that upside anymore. But Towns can go for 50. The problem is, are you and that if that's the case, then you need Embiid to have a bad game, which for him is 50, 55.
Right.
I think that's what it comes down to with me for Towns.
Sure. Well, how do you feel about pairing those 2 guys on a site like DraftKings?
Yeah,
right. I think now you can probably fit a Russ and Embiid.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot a whole about the entire LeBron situation. Now you definitely can. And look, Embiid is the clear this guy has 70-point upside, and lately it's been expected. Stephen Curry hasn't been as good the last 20 games. He's actually been really inconsistent for fantasy quietly. He's having a great year, but it's been a lot. Look at his game log. It's been very up and down. So you could make the argument that if you're pairing 2 high-end players in the slate, the 2 best options outside of Russ might be Embiid and and Towns. That means you're probably not playing Russ, which is pretty terrifying. But I don't see Russ failing here. But all in all, I think Towns is still interesting. But again, like it's tough to fade Embiid. I'm still flabbergasted, by the way.
Yeah, dude, the shit is really like, I don't know why I'm so tilted over an all-star selection, but like this is all like this is like the worst thing since Zaza Pachulia almost made. Like,
didn't all four, what was it, Korver, Millsap, Teague, and Horford all made it that Atlanta year? They were the 1 seed.
Yep. Yeah.
That was a little egregious.
Yeah, there's the 4 Hawks, and then before them, more deserving, the 4 Celtics.
Right.
All right, let's talk some of these cheaper Minnesota guys. So one that was really standing out to me, looking at his game log, obviously people who are going to game log watch are going to roster Jared Vanderbilt tonight. But even without that, like I think just the minutes here are so solid for Jared Vanderbilt. Got the power forward eligibility. The price has come back down. He was a 6'2" player for a while there about 2 weeks ago. Now mid 5K is a lot more palatable for me, certainly on this 2-game slate. How do you feel about Jared Vanderbilt there as kind of maybe an overlooked option in the mid-range?
Yeah, he's a perfectly fine mid-range play. Like I think his rebounding has been a reason why Cat's rebounding has been a little bit up and down. There have definitely been some huge rebounding games from Cat, but there's also been a couple 5-6 rebound games, and I think Vanderbilt's been a reason why. Not taking a ton of shots, but he also has 10 steals over his last 3 games. Don't like relying on that, but yeah, I mean, minutes are there for him. What do you think of Jalen Noel?
Yeah, I like him, especially now as kind of a pivot off of
because he actually has usage with like his rates with just Beverly off the floor a lot better than I thought. 21.5% usage, 1.08 fantasy points per minute, 14% rebounding rate, 16% assist rate. Those are really good numbers for guys not playing like 28 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And it's been playing more of late for this team as we do get the starters here: KD, Embiid, Giannis, DeMar, and Trae Young.
It was
that is, and that makes me happy in this situation. No bullshit on the Eastern Conference side.
I will say there are probably some Toronto Raptors fans and some other teams fans that are like, "Hey, DeMar DeRozan's not a guard," but
yeah.
I'll leave that for again. That was the chalk. That was the chalk starting 5.
So I mean, Jalen Noel too, like just with his sheer athleticism as a guard, kind of a combo guard there for the Wolves, like he can contribute across the box score, and we've been seeing that over the last couple of weeks, just consistently above a fantasy point per minute, both on the season over the last 2 weeks. Like he's an interesting fantasy asset on this slate, and at 4K flat, I think he's going to go overlooked. Let me try to find here in the ownership projections from Kyle. He's got him at 1.2%.
I like that.
Even if that's a little bit off, and I always trust in Kyle's numbers, as I saw yesterday. I think Luke Kennard was the player that he hit like within 0.1%. Yeah, man, like, but even if he's a little bit off there and Noel's like 10%, you don't have to play a ton of them to get over the field and get that leverage if Noel ends up outscoring some of these other chalkier values. I see getting a message from our buddy Joe Metz there. How about the kind of the low end of this team? Like we're going to probably see Jaden McDaniels get the start at the 3 again here in Patrick Beverley's stead, sliding Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell down. But just not a productive guy, especially over the last few games. And the minutes have been concerning. Even though he's getting these starts, he's only cracked 20 minutes in one of his last 4 games. Like, do you think maybe he's sneaky though? Because I mean, he should get the start again, and 3-4 for a starting guy that's probably going to be unowned. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I think honestly any value play from this game alone will be different because it's not even just the Los Angeles value we talked about, but it's Matisse Thybulle, it's Korkmaz, who's still somewhat of a value, Andre Drummond. So it's like any value from this game I think is going to go overlooked. So if you like McDaniels, who again his rates aren't great, but they're better than most of the players from the Lakers that we talked about.
Mhm.
If you have a gut feeling, go for it because they will be less popular for sure. Yeah.
How do you feel about? There's really two other guys. I don't think I'm considering Taurean Prince really. Like if I would, he would make my pool if I was running 150, just because he is probably going to play right around 20 minutes. Not surprised if he gets into the low 20s. But he's another guy on this
Scored
team.
Scored 5 fantasy points in 27 minutes last game.
Yeah, and while I do think that is on the, that's near his floor in terms of a fantasy performance, but just to illustrate how he can really crush a lineup, I would rather get to a Malik Beasley, who's at 3.6. His minutes have been down over the last two, but, a guy that can get hot and maybe get on top of that price tag. I think I would rather Naz Reid. Power forward eligible, 3.2. The minutes are not going to be super high for a guy like Naz, but if Karl-Anthony Towns was to get into foul trouble or this game blows out, he'll see some extended time. And he's a player that doesn't need a lot of time at a 3.2 price tag on DraftKings to get on top of that price and put up a score that you might want at the end of the night. You can see against this team when the Wolves, I think it was very shorthanded Warriors that game in Minnesota. The Wolves won by 20, but 23 and a quarter DK points in 15 minutes for Naz Reid in that game, just to illustrate what he can do in limited time. I'm still not prioritizing any of those guys we just talked about over the Lakers value, guys like Matisse Thybulle, etc. Anything else from this team, or you want to talk Warriors?
Let's talk Golden State.
Yeah, so I guess I'll throw it to you. Steph Curry, 10-3 on DraftKings, over on FanDuel, 9.5. So pretty attractive, a little bit of an eyebrow-raising price tag there for a guy like Steph. 1x on our sponsor, Superdraft. How many lineups in do you have to be before you're going to get Steph here tonight? Because I think he's ownership-wise probably overlooked here. I mean, Kyle's got him at, 25%. It's on a 2-game slate. Maybe that's your leverage in terms of paying up for a stud.
I have a take. I think one of Steph or Clay, and this isn't a hot take because they are the two best shooters to ever live, but I think one of them has one of those quarters where it's oh shit.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was Clay. Now there's obvious concerns of minutes for him too, but this is a slate to play Klay Thompson and hope he has one of those quarters, right? A 2-game slate.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, looking at the numbers according to NBA.com, bottom 7 against in points per possession, a field goal percentage allowed to players off screens, and no surprise, Curry first in points per game off screens, Klay Thompson second. So I'm kind of excited to see Klay in this spot. He didn't do much in the first meeting against his team, 5-14. But again, I feel like a lot of these games we've seen him first start since he's been back. And I know this Minnesota game was not too long ago, but it's just one of these days he's going to get in that rhythm and it's going to be over, and he could have a 18 real point quarter. So I do have interest in both Curry and Klay. I just know it's coming. And Curry though, again, it's hard to prioritize him over Embiid, but it's probably hard to prioritize him over Westbrook now, just because Curry has been up and down in fantasy, and Westbrook, while he's been underwhelming, just the fact of LeBron being out just changes things, obviously.
Yeah, I think this is a slate where I would want to be over the field on a guy like Klay Thompson. We did see his minutes come up to about 25.5 2 nights ago in the blowout
game they
win.
won by 40 almost.
Yeah, and you look at the game logs, he came out with 5 minutes to go. So was he going to get some extra time at the end there? I'm not sure. I know they've been pretty stringent with his minutes restriction, but it continues to climb. 25.5 was the most minutes he's seen in the 7 games that he's played. And we know that, to your point, he has the ability to get on top of this 5.3 price tag really in a quarter when he really gets going. So I have some interest in getting to him. I'm fine to play him in one lineup. I would certainly have multiple shares in an MME build. I also have a lot of love for a guy like Otto Porter. Should get the start again here. Has been a fantasy point per minute, right around a fantasy point per minute player.
He's been really good for them.
Absolutely. And he's a guy that, from a fantasy perspective, does not have to won't just get you there on points alone. He can contribute across the box score. And if you get a double digit scoring performance from Otto, I think he's going to put up a fantasy score you're going to want at the end of the night at 5'1", small and power forward eligible. But let's not overlook all-star fucking starter Andrew Wiggins. 5'7", now on DraftKings, only small forward. Do you think he's a little bit sneaky on this slate?
All joke aside, like that's a pretty cheap price tag for him, especially with Draymond out. So, like I would rather play him than Vanderbilt, who are both right around the same price. It's close though.
Yeah, no, I don't hate that at all.
Maybe he's seeing everybody say it shouldn't be an all-star starter, and he just balls out tonight.
Or maybe he's like, yeah, I fucking agree. How did that happen? How about Jordan Poole coming off the bench? 5'4", so kind of sandwiched in between Wiggins and Clay on DraftKings.
I would just rather Clay.
I agree. I think I would certainly have a Jordan Poole or two if I was building my 20 and more than that in 150, but not somebody I'm prioritizing with Wiggins, Clay, and Otto right there in that same price range. Kevon Looney down to 4.7 here. Still priced up from where we're used to seeing Kevon Looney, but
don't look at his splits against Minnesota. You'll want to play him.
Is that right? Yeah, 2 games this year, 26.5 minutes per game and 32.5 DK points. A lot of that must have come in the first game, right? Because it wasn't great a week and a half ago when these two teams met.
Draymond played in one of those games, I believe. Yeah, he played in one of them.
Did he play in the first one when Looney went off?
He played, let me see. Looney, which one was the 16th?
That was the most recent.
There's no way Draymond was active for that game. Draymond's been out for a while. Yeah, Draymond last played the 9th. That was when he played. That was when he did the tip for Klay Thompson's return and then didn't play.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I mean, at 4.7, like I can't. I wouldn't be prioritizing Kevon Looney tonight. I just think there's other guys in that price range, specifically from the Lakers. I would rather also pay up $400 for Otto Porter. You could certainly make the argument, or I don't think we even have to make the argument. Clay for $600 more has a higher ceiling here. What about the cheapies here? I had more interest in dissecting these guys before we got the Lakers news. The Nemanja Bjelica's, Damian Lee's, etc.
I'm okay with Damian Lee. I think he plays like 23 minutes, which
and
on this slate, on this slate at that price is enough.
Would you rather him than like a Stanley Johnson or an Avery Bradley?
I think I might.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think I would probably order them Stanley starting LeBron.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
How about Bjelica? I don't think either of us are going to have, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we're going to have a ton of interest in Jonathan Kuminga, who was supposed to start until Draymond came back, and that lasted all of, I think, a game after Steve Kerr said that. Despite his garbage time performance, which was off the charts against the Mavericks the other night, the dunk on Josh Green was fantastic. I can't get there tonight. Bjelica, though, somebody I would have interest in if I was running an MME build. Guy who's kind of, I think for his career, been over a fantasy point per minute, slightly over that rate this year as well. Not looking for another 32 fantasy point performance, that double-double he got in the garbage time against Dallas, but a guy that can put up low 20s in fantasy points here, and I would not be surprised. Would you have some shares? Maybe, certainly not in one lineup, I wouldn't think, but if you're running 20 or something?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with him either. He's probably close for me. I think his minutes floor is way lower than some of the Los Angeles players. So, but he's right in that same range of like a lot of the players we talked about earlier. Whether it be, like Reeves or maybe like the two centers from that game outside of the starters. Stanley Johnson, Bradley. He's in that range, but I would probably have him last.
4.5 minutes to go here until this slate locks. So let's head to the Discord, the FTN Premium NBA Discord channel, where it's the only chat we answer questions from. So if you are on the YouTube or the Twitter, got to sign up here. I won't do the whole spiel. I know we've only got 4 minutes, and I promise to get to these questions. So Brock asking, would you stack or would you feel okay stacking Jaden McDaniels and Jared Vanderbilt together? Should start at the 3 and the 4.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's something you can't do.
Yeah, it's not something I would set a rule against. but I would be surprised if that's where I got in one lineup. But no issue at all with having those guys together. We were talking about this a minute ago, but I guess we'll get a definitive answer now. Would you Wiggins or Vanderbilt tonight?
Wiggins.
Yeah, I think all Vanderbilt. You want to put it on the board? You want a lunch bet or something?
Yeah, we can.
All right.
I mean, I have to get one since Joe was scared to. And I said this when Jarrett Allen was questionable yesterday. I was like, let's just do a lunch bet for fun. Didn't even answer. Smart man.
Coward. Well, we'll see his face here in a couple minutes. Jake saying, was there news on Anthony Davis's minutes? No. So we talked about that, I think, before you were here, Jake. No news that either of us have seen. And that kind of, I was saying, that's giving me the thoughts creeping into my head that maybe he plays full minutes tonight. So I think I would, in an MME build, I would try to be over on Anthony Davis at this point. Panthers pointing out to me that I need to familiarize myself with the Superdraft multipliers because Steph Curry picking up a 5% bonus tonight, 1.05x on Superdraft, not the floor. So I'm glad that Panthers is on top of it than the Superdraft employee who's on the stream. Anthony saying, are we going all-star Wiggins tonight? Adam is over Jared Vanderbilt. And I have no issue getting to Wiggins at that cheap price on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, he's 6K flat, so he's not super expensive over there either. And 1.45x on Superdraft, I'm fine getting to him. Adam, would you set a per team limit above 3 on this slate? Hugo's saying the value is giving him a lot of lineups with 4, I would assume, from the Lakers in the optimizer.
Even on a 2-game slate, I think 4 would scare me a little bit.
I think that's I would be fine with 4 Lakers tonight, but I'm not running 5 Lakers on this slate. There's still the majority of the usage is gonna go to Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and then
it would be different if they had like other players that actually did things, but like they just kind of don't. But I guess it depends, right? If you're talking about playing like Russ, Davis, and then like, THT and Melo or something, I think that's fine because those 4 players actually have usage in this team. But if it's like Russ and then like 3 of the low-end value plays that have no usage, that would scare me a little bit more. I'm really intrigued, by the way, to see how many minutes Anthony Davis plays as this game stays closed.
Yeah, I agree. Dello posting in here saying that Anthony Davis felt fine in his return. This is a Lakers Nation article. He says, hoping his minutes restriction will go away the next game. So yeah, man, again, I think I'm pushing more chips on Anthony Davis here.
Wait, does that next game mean like the game?
Yeah, that was after the Nets game. This article was written. Anthony was asking Bielitsa thoughts. We gave it to him. And then P-Buck saying Beasley and Tobias or Clay and Wiggins.
I think the first side has a higher ceiling.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. The safer one is certainly the second. Malik Beasley could really tank you today.
Did we really, like, we kind of touched on it, but like, do we think LeBron being out makes the chances of Davis's minutes restriction being limited or being lifted higher? Because again, like it's still end of January, but like this team needs to win. Like they can't just like sit guys for long stretches in games. And I know it's Davis, and like they're not winning without him if he's hurt.
I don't think that. I guess I'll say this: that shouldn't factor into the Lakers' calculation on how many minutes Anthony Davis is going to play.
Maybe it'd be different if it were somebody that didn't deal with so many injuries throughout his career. Maybe it'd be different. Yeah.
Well, we are at lock, so I'll pull up some ownership here. Let me just type a little quick question to. I'll just say it because I know he can hear me. Thomas, please send that link to Conrad Metz so we can get him in there or get him in here and go off. There he is. Look at him already waiting in the wings.
Hold on, let me hold on. I gotta fix my lighting quickly.
And he's gone.
Oh man. All right, I'll pull up ownership while we wait for Joe to come back here. Again, if you didn't hear at the top of the show, we are going to stay live here for the first half of this Lakers and Philadelphia game. Shoot the shit between us three. Every FTN subscribers in the chat. go ahead and fire any questions away, feedback, things you want us to battle on. I guess, yeah, Joe.
Yeah,
Adam
I
has
see
something
it,
to
Adam.
show you.
Yeah, I see it. Trust me, I see it.
Yeah, I have my
respect
Fiesta on too.
I appreciate it. And Zach, your shirt is that of a team that has not understood their assignment this year. That is all I'm going to say.
I mean, it's hard to suck more than the Houston Rockets. That's all I'll say.
It's hard to suck more than the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, that's true.
Should be saying.
That's also true.
I do not believe they've cracked double-digit wins yet, right?
I think they're still at 9.
They're
right?
at 9.
Creeping up. Okay, I can appreciate that.
All right, so Joe. Andrew Wiggins, all-star starter. Your thoughts?
I have been beating this drum for a while now, years. I think the NBA simply needs to fix fan voting. I think it's really cool that fan voting drives the all-star starters. It gives the fans some skin in the game. With that said, I think there needs to be some type of system that weighs both fan voting and whether it's because it's coaches that obviously pick the reserves. I think integrating their coaches. I don't want to say media members because we know how some media members are, but some type of weight outside of fan voting, because we've seen this year after year. The teams that just simply get the most fans to vote, like Andrew Wiggins has had a good year. I don't think any of us will deny that. But all-star starter, like, come on now. Like, Draymond Green should have been voted an all-star starter. I think the other thing the NBA needs to do is just basketball is a positionless game right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think they cannot. There's no way they can be this rigid with the positions because you can argue Luka should start at the 3 in the All-Star game. This is not at all at the disrespect of Andrew Wiggins whatsoever. He's been great this year. He's been a massive catalyst for this team. I just don't think he as a player is an all-star game starter. That's it. And I think that's a respectful take.
You can call this disrespectful if you want. Andrew Wiggins is not a fucking all-star, period. He's not. There is nobody across the NBA landscape that had Andrew Wiggins as even a reserve. None of us. I mean, we had us three. We had Alex Blickel on. We did our all-star ballots, and we had some dissension in the reserves, to be sure. And we all listed like our honorable mentions, if you want to call them that. None of us gave Andrew Wiggins a passing glance. And this just shows like the all-star game is for the fans, but the fans should not have a hand in it at all. At all.
No, correct. And the thing is, you think like obviously a lot of casual fans vote for two things: entertainment value and fandom.
Bias.
Correct. Andrew Wiggins being the latter. I can think of 20 dudes in the West that provide more entertainment value in an all-star game than Andrew Wiggins. His teammate Draymond Green is one of them. One of the best lob throwers in basketball. Arguably the best. I know Adam has been beating that drum for a while. Luka.
Pretty good.
Luka, what'd you say?
I said LaMelo's pretty good.
LaMelo. I think,
I'm sorry. Does he play in the Western Conference?
Shit, I'd rather let him play for the fucking West so we can get Andrew Wiggins off the team.
Yeah, let the Bills play in the NFC.
I don't know what sport that is. Let's look at the chat here. Josh was asking, Joe, where's your LeBron jersey? That's what Josh wants to know.
I don't have a LeBron jersey, Joshua. Come on, man. I had, I was at some point in middle school, I had a LeBron Cavs jersey during his first stint. Adam would be proud of that. I'm sure you have had a ton of them.
I've had all three of the old school ones. Remember the navy blue ones I had? The best jerseys I ever had. I had that one.
Those were cool.
And then I had a Kyrie one, a Deion Waiters one. Remember, I'm a Syracuse guy. This beautiful one.
Deion Waiters, the player who got so high on an airplane that he missed the next game because he was sick.
What do you guys think of these? What do you guys think of these city jerseys from Philadelphia?
You're right, Zach. I actually have to pull a game up on. Let me get YouTube TV up here.
I like them.
So do I.
Let me ask the Philly contingent, because we have a large Philly contingent in the Discord here. No bias, I'm sure, at all in their responses. But how do you guys feel about these jerseys? Like, they almost look like Nugget City jerseys to me, with like kind of the rainbow on the side, right? Like the Mountain Nuggets jerseys.
Oh, so no Bron. Okay. Yes, no LeBron. Okay, I just saw that, and that sucks because the free bet I put out every Thursday, I put out Lakers money line parlayed with
AD looked good on that possession.
I'm at the jump ball.
Yeah, I just hit the jump ball.
Well, this is gonna be awkward.
Well, what are you watching on actual cable?
I am.
You are archaic.
Mm-hmm.
You are the boomer of the stream. I'm watching on YouTube TV, which is love it. A little pricey, but the delay is frustrating. So like when the Packers game was on or when that Bills Chiefs game was on, I just had to mute my phone.
Can't look at a box score.
You can't be like that Chiefs Bills game. You could not afford to be a play behind whatsoever because every play was a scoring play. So I guess obviously we are recording the NBA pod right now. On topic, Stanley Johnson just on topic around this game. Stanley Johnson has turned his 10 days into a 2-year guaranteed deal, I believe.
Is the second year guaranteed? I didn't see.
That's a good question. It's a 2-year deal. At the very least, year one is guaranteed. I'll look it up while we're talking about it. I think all of us have given Stanley Johnson a lot of slack, but from a DFS standpoint, he's quite literally useless, and he has been for 5 years now.
He actually already has a rebound in the basket, so relax.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's looking close. He's close to 2 fantasy points per minute right now for the first minute 15 of this game. But he has been one of the best players on the Lakers this season, and that is both an indictment of how bad the Lakers have been collectively, but like. I think he's earned the contract, right? Like he is a piece. Obviously, doesn't show up a ton in the box score, but unlike someone like Tony Snell, who might not show up in the box score a lot, or his teammate Avery Bradley, I think Stanley Johnson has a lot more left in the tank than those two aforementioned players, especially defensively, in a potential play-in or playoff game.
Is this the only team in the league that he could like play legitimate minutes for, though?
No.
Who else?
The Magic.
Dude, but they're not going to play him. They got
I know. By that logic, yes, there are teams with worse players. There are teams with many worse players that you could justify by pure ability on the court. He should be playing. But when you look at like the rationale of like why would he play for this team if we're trying to tank, we're trying to develop young guys, I think you're right. Maybe like I think this year that answer
Bulls
might be
in training camp. Wasn't he with the Bulls?
Yep.
I think they could have used him at times.
What I was going to say, the answer is a little different this year because of all the COVID stuff. Like, I think a team like Miami could have used him at some point when they were dealing with all the injuries.
Sure.
I think that Chicago's a good answer. With obviously Pat Williams out, they had both the wings out for a little bit, Lonzo out. But I outside of like COVID issues causing a lack of depth, like I'm not going to say Charlotte could have used him. I don't think so. I really don't. And the thing is, even if another team could use him, would another team use him? I don't think so.
Right.
This is a very Lakers thing to do.
I agree. Yeah, I mean the 2 years, and I guess maybe they're just thinking because they're almost equally as fucked next year, I think, cap wise, right? So like locking up Stanley Johnson for 2 years. I don't know if you had to do that, but I guess I don't hate it. They just flashed like a little January counter. That's a travel. Embiid just took about 4 steps.
Yeah, I don't have my sound on. I assume they called a travel.
Nope.
No.
Count it.
This man, he traveled twice. He traveled when he caught the ball at the 3-point line. Dribble, spin move.
He took 5.5 steps.
Yeah. Oh man, let's see. Anthony and Tyreek, 2 of the Philly guys here, saying they both love the jerseys. And Anthony added that he said that you voted for Grayson Allen for All-Star, which I did not.
No, I did not actually. So
you might be lying.
I'm an active All-Star voter. There were 4 total bucks I voted for. Like, because the thing is, like, I want to vote and support my team, but I also don't want to.
I'm sorry, did you say 4?
I voted for $4. Yes, I didn't only submit 1 ballot.
Yeah, well, Serena got a hold of the phone and voted for Pat Connaughton. So
no, Bobby Portis was my 4th. I did 1 ballot with Bobby Portis.
Bobby Portis was the only player from your team that played well against Cleveland, by the way.
That's great.
I'm gonna say
how many rings does Bobby Portis have? The same amount of Kevin Love.
Joe, you are now not allowed to complain about Andrew Wiggins because you voted for Bobby Portis.
Yeah, like what are we doing here?
No, damn it, I shouldn't have told you that because I'm sitting here like trying to God, Westbrook is just a walking turnover. I love the fact that we are on a live right now when I'm watching Russell Westbrook.
Stanley Johnson is actually having a very nice quarter, by the way.
Yes, he is. He is.
He just got
making
a steal.
me eat my words. So obviously Bobby Portis being the one true fan vote, but like Drew Holiday, I think deserves an all-star.
Sure.
Chris Middleton, I think deserves one. He's had a bit of a down year, but we've talked so much about how deep the East is. I don't think Chris Middleton's going to get it. And obviously, Giannis, no-brainer. But I don't want to facilitate the irrational fan voting. So Bobby Portis was my one ballot. Bobby Portis. Every other ballot was Drew, Chris, Giannis.
All right, I'm voting for Chetty then.
I know you're not just bringing in Chetty Osman to a conversation with Bobby Portis.
Oh, the late night Chetty Osman reference last night in our podcast Slack chat was
yes.
Roastmaster Supreme Adam Pfeifer. Let's see.
Westbrook's hurt.
Is he?
I think. I don't know.
Where is he? He's not coming up. He's not coming up.
He's not like hurt, but he limped off the court to the bench.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And I don't know if it was ahead of his like normal stint where he comes out, but he's definitely
something's
limping.
bothering him there. He's got the trainers.
Hopefully
he looks fine though.
Yeah, I think he'll be back in.
Knocked out or banged his knee or something.
But I think to your guys, to Zach, to your fandom, DeJounte Murray is on just about every All-Star ballot I filled out.
Dude, he might not get in now. That's the point me and Zach were talking about because
you don't. Okay,
Wiggins is going to take.
Wiggins is in though. That means somebody's not in.
So the thing is, you knew. Okay, but the thing is,
unless Draymond's just not in.
While on our podcast, we obviously didn't say Andrew Wiggins was going to be a starter. You could, as long he was the second leading vote getter among forwards, like he was going to get in. If we saw this yesterday,
yeah, I guess you're right.
It's strictly
but the votes doesn't have anything to do with reserves. That's all coaching.
No, I'm saying starters. So like the thing is, DeJounte Murray wasn't going to get a starter spot regardless. I don't think I don't think Andrew Wiggins getting a starter spot changes his outlook of being an all-star specifically because of the different position.
What if Devin Booker should have been the starter? Devin Booker should have been the starter.
Devin Booker's classified as a guard. Devin Booker's classified as a guard. The thing is, by the NBA's
because he's classifications,
because Andrew Wiggins only got in because he was the second or third leading vote getter in the front court.
Right, which is fucked.
Correct. But my point here is that because of that, I don't think it affects DeJounte's likelihood of getting in. I don't think he should be a fringe all-star vote or all-star bid, but I think he is a fringe.
Well, but I guess regardless, to Adam's point, and I agree, like I wasn't thinking about the positional requirements of the team there, but it's going to push somebody out who was 100 times more deserving of a spot on this team.
I think so. I think I'm gonna pull up the all-star ballot right now and just see where the votes were and everything. If you're looking at the front court, like in the West, so it was LeBron, Jokic, Wiggins. Then it was Paul George. He won't make it. Anthony Davis will not make it. Draymond, maybe it all depends on health for him. Carmelo will not make it. Cat will make it. Gobert will make it. Ayton probably not because of health. So like that is the entirety of the top 10 of the front court in the West. That sounds very, very shallow. The issue with DeJounte, though, is you look at the guards now. Chris Paul, the guards that didn't get starting bits. Chris Paul, and again, these are guards classified by the NBA. Like you could argue Luka could have started as a forward. The guards would be Luka, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards, who I think should be a guard forward. Those, and I'm not going to include Damian Lillard. I'm not going to include Russell Westbrook. I'm not going to include Klay Thompson. Those are three others in the top 10 vote getters who 99% chance will not make the All-Star game. So of those guys, I do think DeJounte has a better shot than Anthony Edwards. I think he has I don't think he has a better shot than Donovan Mitchell, but I think there's merit to selecting him over Donovan Mitchell because Donovan Mitchell has now missed, I believe, 7 or 8 games this year, which is a little under 20% of the season. And I think the year-over-year leap has been much more significant for DeJounte Murray, whereas Donovan Mitchell, and this is no disrespect, is just living up to expectations. That's it. Yeah. But his expectation is an all-star, unless you're Rudy Gobert and don't think that.
I would still put Spider in over DeJounte. But
Yeah,
I just the point is that like the fan voting has now taken a spot from somebody who is more deserving, and like I think most of the players care about getting all-star spots when they're in contention for one. And I don't have one off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's examples out there of contracts where guys have incentives for all-star appearances, right? Because that's going to bring in money for a franchise. I would assume some of these guys have those clauses in there.
I like I'm looking at Discord. Phil Connor's toaster.
That's what I was just about to read. Yeah.
This is a great Hugo's take is really strong here. The NBA, to kind of eliminate the positional rigidness, the NBA should take the top 2 vote getters at guard and forward, and the next highest vote getter between the two to determine the starter. So if that were the case this year, we would have in the Eastern Conference, top 2 vote getters in the backcourt would be DeMar DeRozan, Trae Young, front court Kevin Durant and Giannis, and then it would be Embiid. So that would not change. And we, all 3 of us, predicted the Eastern Conference on the dot. Western Conference, it would be, oh my God. No, it wouldn't be.
Is it worse?
It would be the same. It would be the exact same. Like Andrew Wiggins, 2.64 million votes.
How does Wiggins get more votes than Draymond?
Yo, here's the answer.
Wiggins didn't just get more votes than Draymond.
This is the answer.
800,000 more votes than Draymond. He got
Canada.
Canada. Oh, that's a good call.
Krugers, this is on you.
Come on, dude.
Your boys.
Chris Meany, come on, dude. What are you doing? Jills, get out of here. But it would still like he finished roughly 800,000 votes above Draymond Green, roughly 700,000 above Luka. Luka is a fan favorite, like one of the top jersey sales in the NBA.
We talked about it. It's like
that doesn't correlate at all
because he's missed time and stuff. Like if it feels like Luka's having a down year, and he's just not. Like he's just having a great year again.
Yeah, he is. Like I'm gonna eat my words a little bit because he's averaging 25, 9 and 9 right now. Team's playing well. I think the expectations for Luka, I think Zach, you hit on it, I believe, 2 podcasts ago. I
had him in my starting 5 in the West.
I mean, have we seen expectations this early in someone's career? Maybe not this early because his 4th year in the league, but
the expectations have been there for years now, though.
Correct. The thing is, aside from LeBron and Zion, I don't think we've ever seen expectations as high for someone before at this age, and I think you're right in that take. But that also, because people expect that, and he's living up to it, you think he would have been a shoo-in for the All-Star star. I think Luka getting the low amount of votes that he did is the most confusing thing to me of the All-Star starter announcements.
Well, I know a couple, more than a couple Mavs fans down here in Texas, and like some of my
Chris Meany's a Mavs fan as well.
Yeah, and some of my closer friends who are like really locked in and listening to it's the fan or the ticket up there. I know Hugo's gonna chime in, maybe Easy B chimes in. I know those guys listen to the talk radio every day. My buddy Jack loves the Mavs, locked in. He's not he loves Luka, but he's not a huge fan of Luka. He gets annoyed by different things, whether it's his demeanor or his
fair. That's fair.
His
He's got
decision making on the court.
Diva syndrome, I think.
Sure. Well, and fuck, man, the kid deserves it.
Wouldn't you, if you have that type of attention at 14 years old? Wouldn't you have that be a diva too? I would.
I feel like he could be a lot worse. I can cut him some slack.
Real quick, Anthony Davis looks absolutely fantastic.
He does. He looks like he feels great. I'm watching I'm watching Malik Monk and his involvement and the sloppy play right there, but Malik Monk has been phenomenal for the Lakers this year. The one take I simply don't, I shouldn't say I don't understand, because I do get it. They didn't pay attention to any team besides the Lakers, but Lakers fans clamoring that LeBron James saved Malik Monk. LeBron James turned Malik Monk's career around. This is the exact same Malik Monk we saw in Charlotte for the last 3 years.
He was good as last year in Charlotte too.
He was really good. That's what got him paid with LA.
Didn't he kind of take a pay cut to come play with this team? I feel like he's not getting paid.
Right. You're right. My bad.
He's on 1.8.
Yeah, but my point, that was not a pretty shot by AD. My point, this is exactly what the Lakers hoped to get with Malik Monk, and this is exactly what Charlotte had. They just did. Charlotte, look at their team. Malik Monk would fit in well, but they just don't have room for him. They have one of the most crowded wings in basketball. And I think given his age, Malik Monk was the odd one out, but that was the one free agent pickup that I will give the Lakers their flowers for.
I agree.
I don't know if I can give them flowers for any other one. And
Josh said Dallas would be as bad as the Spurs if they had no Luka. Yeah, they'd be worse. They'd be exponentially worse without him.
And when you're relying on Tim Hardaway Jr. taking 30 shots a game, you're gonna be bad. Also, like, I don't know why I'm just noticing this. Georges Niang is built like a refrigerator. That is one thick dude.
Yeah, dude, that's a big guy.
Oh my god. I don't watch enough Philly games, clearly. I'm not going to watch more, so don't get your hopes up, Tyreek and Anthony. I'm not going to watch more.
Just a heads up, Westbrook is back. Davis dunked.
Grimacing.
Davis is going to the locker room to get his wrist looked at.
Oh, my God.
He dunked, like, kind of over Embiid. Not like a post or anything, but and landed awkwardly and grabbed his wrist. Stayed in the game and still played well, but he just went to the locker room, I think, to get his wrist looked at, so...
10 points, 2 boards for him in his 9 minutes.
He's looking really good. A couple other. So I'm talking with my buddies about all the All-Star stuff. One, the All-Star jerseys are awful. They look.
I actually didn't mind them.
They look like practice pennies.
Let me look them up.
I still don't get why teams don't just go back to home road, wear your team's jersey. Looks cool.
It's like what baseball does too. And that's the one thing I like about baseball. Otherwise, baseball.
All right, let's do something then. Let's go around the horn, and does anybody want to make changes to the All-Star selections we had for the reserves?
I need to go back and look at my reserves.
Yeah, but I don't think so.
But I don't think so either.
I'm going to make Joe really mad, but I think I'm putting Garland in over Drew Holiday now.
The thing is, if that were to happen, I wouldn't be – I don't think it's not justifiable.
But, I need to ask Zach because Joe's Milwaukee, I'm Cleveland, I'm obviously a little biased, but and we talked, Joe, I told you this 2 weeks ago. I was like, Garland with nobody else in that backcourt is going to play 35 minutes a game, and he's probably going to make a late push to make the All-Star team, and he's been unbelievable the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love Drew Holiday.
No, I know you. And the thing is, I don't mind that at all.
Other than that, though, I still want Van Vliet in the All-Star game, so I'm keeping him in there.
I really want Miles Bridges in there. I don't think he's going to make it, but I think one of the Celtics is going to make it. While I don't think either of them deserves it. Tatum's
a lock. Tatum's getting in.
I know.
He deserves it. It's not pretty.
Yeah, I think Tatum deserves a good in.
Yeah. Whatever. I got a text from my boy Mike, who was on the podcast, and loved the Julius Randle talk. And next thing he said is, "Holy shit, Tatum 29% on pull-up threes." I don't know how many. That might have been the nugget of the day from Adam. Dude, that is horrible.
It's not great.
The other note that I talked to all my friends, and this, I think you two are good people to ask this as well. One of my buddies said Andrew Wiggins, probably bottom 3 worst All-Star starters in the last 10 years.
I'd have to go back and look. Actually, let's do it. Somebody pull
it
up.
Andrew Bynum, 2012, was an All-Star starter. That's a pretty bad one. Kemba Walker was a bad one when he started in the All-Star game. But let me NBA All-Star.
But at least like Kemba, right? And
Kemba can provide some entertainment value.
He had some
ISO ball. Yeah, he did. And the thing is, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole with Zach, but he was in his bag. He was a hooper for a little bit. And that's what people want to watch in the All-Star game. So they're whether you agree with it or not, but I'm going to go down the rabbit hole now and just look up NBA All-Star starters 2012 to 2022.
Also, Hugo's saying that he loves these jerseys, and he says it's regionally inspired. So, what is the Cleveland inspiration here on these jerseys? Adam, do you know?
No.
Yeah, boredom.
Last year was Indianapolis, right? Isn't that why we had the yellow and blue, the Pacers colored All-Star jerseys? I don't remember where the game was last year, but I remember the jerseys. Yes, maybe Hugo can let me know what the deal is with these jerseys, because like I agree, like these look like back gym AAU jerseys to me.
Yeah, they look like practice pennies.
Man, Anthony Davis is, I mean, I know he went to the locker room. I think he's fine. He was walking fine.
Yeah, it's a wrist injury. It's not a foot or anything.
He's on pace for full minutes. So, by the way, we didn't read out ownership here. Anthony Davis in the main DK tournament, 7.5%.
What? On a 2-game slate?
I'm hoping other people kind of chase the feeling that Adam and I were talking about 10 minutes before lock, that like he could play full minutes here and you wouldn't have to play a ton to get over the field.
That
1%
is absurdly low.
1% of people rostered LeBron, so we appreciate those people.
Embiid
was 63 up top, Malik 61, Russ Westbrook 56. Then 38 for Tobias, 35 for Maxey, 32 for THT and Carmelo and Furkan.
Going back to some of the All-Star starters, 2015, both Gasol brothers started. Mark for Memphis and Powell for Chicago.
Who would you rather not see in the All-Star game between those two? And this what year was this? Sorry,
2015.
At that point, that was far later in Powell's career than it was.
Powell was still pretty good in Chicago, but yeah, I mean,
Mark was pretty old.
This was the same year the entire Atlanta starting five outside of DeMar
this
Carroll.
was Millsap, Korver, Joe Johnson, Jeff Teague, right?
No, they were all off the bench, right? Because didn't they come in at the same time?
Yeah, it was Millsap, Teague, Korver, and Horford all were reserves for the All-Star game. And Budenholzer was the head coach.
Yeah, because their record was incredible.
They were they were absurd.
They had to have
65 games that year or something.
Yeah, and LeBron
they had to have like 5 losses at the All-Star break, right? Like,
yeah, then LeBron showed that they're the worst one seed ever.
The Roy Hibbert era Eastern Conference, gotta love it.
Oh my god! Oh, that brings me back to like Danny Granger, and dude, Danny Granger was a bucket.
I love Danny.
He was a bucket. The prime Paul George on that team.
Remember when Paul George dunked on Birdman?
Yes. Obliterated him.
Yes.
I mean, that was, dude, Paul George. And the thing is, Paul George is still very fun to watch when he's on the court. Like, he has embraced the finesse side of his game. He doesn't have the booms or like the aggression that he used to have. But man, prime Paul George was insane. Like, he was dunking on everybody. It was so much fun. And like, that brings me back to like, remember how much Dwayne Wade used to dunk on people?
I remember when he dunked on Anderson
Varejao. Yep.
Remember that very vividly.
I'm sure you do, because it was like the most earth-shattering dunk of that season. Like, that was in the playoffs, wasn't it? Or no, it wasn't. No, it was not. It was not.
I think it was actually early in the regular season. But it was the play, and then there was the other play where he like was towards the sideline and like wrapped the ball around Sasha Pavlovich and threw like a half-court lob to Shaq.
Yeah. So this is I'm going on like this big all-star rabbit hole now. This is fun. This is fun. So I'm looking at like 2013, 2014 Indiana Pacers, who was on this team. Danny Granger, Roy Hibbert. That's what George Hill. So I'm gonna throw out some other names. Zach Luis Scola. That's a good one.
Wait, he was a reserve.
No, I'm just looking at their roster right now and how many players that were like actually good that year.
Yeah.
Andrew Bynum was on the Pacers that year. Chris Copeland had a couple good years in the NBA, but that like
Chris Copeland.
And my boy, one of my favorite players of all time, David West. He was an all-star at some point with
Pelicans, right? Or they were the Hornets. They were the Hornets at that point.
They were the Hornets.
When he put,
but it was in New Orleans.
He was literally
Stojakovic.
Yeah, he was Chris Paul's pick and roll buddy in Charlotte at the time. Let's look. I'm gonna look up like 2015 NBA All-Star.
Tyreek posted in the chat, but I agree. He says bring this back when they used to have the guys wear their actual team jerseys, and one conference was all white, and then the away jerseys.
Every time I think of that, I think of like Allen Iverson and then Jason Kidd, like those All-Star games.
Both of those guys in the front Tracy of these photos that he posted.
Are they actually? I mean, see it.
Yeah, it's
there they are. T-Mac in there?
So here's the West is Rashid, Vlade, Admiral, McDyess,
Michael Finley,
Weber, Duncan, Malone, Garnett,
shout out Michael Finley,
Peyton, Kobe, Kidd, and Finley.
Look at Ray Allen in that Bucks uniform. Glenn Robinson, you got the big dog, Allen Houston. Vince, look at how young Vince Carter is. Latrell Sprewell.
Jerry Stackhouse, true story. I
Jerry
actually
Stack-
used to have the most random jersey I ever had was a Pistons Jerry Stackhouse jersey. I have no idea why.
I'm trying to think what random jerseys I had. I mean, I shouldn't say random. Tracy McGrady. I've had multiple Tracy McGrady jerseys. My favorite non-buck of all time.
He was amazing.
Yeah, I absolutely love T-Mac. If there was one player that, when people give you the argument, like whose career would you go back and bless without injury? There's three players for me, and it's T-Mac, Derrick Rose, and Brandon Roy.
Yep, those are the three.
Anthony Davis has returned to the bench.
Well,
by the way,
if it's basketball, those are the three. If it's baseball, it's Ken Griffey Jr., and I won't hear another word.
Everything baseball for you is Ken Griffey Jr.
You're damn right it is.
Hugo following up saying he asked us to look up Dick McGuire's stats from the year he made the All-Star game. That turns out it's 1955-56. Dick McGuire got the start in the All-Star game, averaging 6.9 points. Very nice. 3.5 rebounds and 5.8 assists. All-Star starter Dick McGuire.
Yeah. Not going to lie, Kyle Lowry is a pretty damn boring Eastern Conference All-Star starter. He's had some stints in the past on Toronto.
Sure.
He started that year that the Hawks were. That was 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, boring dump truck player. He's on team dump truck with Chris Paul and
I was looking
Georges
back at
Niang,
some. He wasn't a starter. I was looking back at some just overall rosters, and one of the years he was on Miami, Dragic made it, but I forgot he was like a third replacement. It was a second or third replacement, so it doesn't count.
There will be obviously replacement like Kevin Durant. Someone on Twitter.
So yeah, who's not? So Durant's not playing. Draymond is probably not going to play.
So who will replace? I think the question now is like the best question is who will replace Kevin Durant? Do you think it's going to be like? I think if you're.
do they automatically take the next vote getter?
If that's the case, it's Jason Tatum.
This as a starter, right?
Correct. Like if we're going by vote getters, the next four in the front court.
Oh, come on.
Tatum, Jimmy Butler, Jared Allen, and Pascal Siakam. They're obviously not going to go Jared Allen because
I think Butler. Well, here's the thing.
Butler hasn't played.
Butler didn't want to play in the All-Star game last year. You think they're going to start him?
Is it going to be Siakam? You know what? This is all like Bam hasn't played enough. It's going to come down to Miles Bridges, and he's going to replace Kevin Durant. And
yeah, over Jared Allen.
Anthony Davis will return, but will be reevaluated at halftime. So I don't know if that means he's out.
That sounds pretty damn
half.
Irresponsible. Wait, hold on. That read like there's a chance he can come back in the first half, but they're also going to look at him again at halftime to make sure he's okay.
He's got a wrap on his wrist now on the bench. It doesn't yeah. I guess he's
not
coming back in this quarter.
That's a
pretty
large
thick wrap. That's a lot of wrap.
That almost looked more like a splint to me.
I was going to say cast, but yeah, like it's pretty thick. That's Georges Niang thick.
Bullshit, man. This guy.
I'm shocked that I understand the risks that people saw, but you are on a 2-game NBA slate. And Anthony Davis without LeBron James is sub 10% owned. If you told me that was going to be if I knew that was going to be the case ahead of the stream or ahead of lock, I probably would have 75 to 80% Anthony Davis.
Gerald Wallace posted in the chat.
Ooh, Gerald Wallace.
Charlotte Bobcat.
Hey,
legend.
Do not hate. I used to love Gerald Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
In like 2K12, I used to just like my big thing with 2K. I haven't played in probably a year or two.
Joe Westbrook just did it again. It wasn't a pull-up jump shot, but it was like a floater that went off the top of the backboard.
It's
straight on off the top of the backboard. That's tough to do.
I mean, the guy tries to be Tim Duncan from 18 feet out on the elbow and just completely looks like a buffoon.
Talking about most boring all-star players of all time, Timmy D.
Yeah, but in that same regard, one of the most boring, but one of the most deserving ever.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think at the time he was the first rookie to make an all-star team at that point.
At that point, yeah, I think you're right.
Kobe did it.
What's that?
And then Kobe did it too, right?
Kobe was a rookie before Duncan. He came in the year before.
Oh yeah,
and
I don't think he Kobe was not good his first year.
Yeah, that's right.
His first All-Star appearance was the year Duncan was an All-Star. Yeah,
famous airball montages from Kobe in his first year. Man, Gerald Wallace, $102 million in his career.
He was a really good perimeter defender, really good slasher.
Could jump out of the gym.
You know who could jump out of the gym that I used to love watching? Ricky Davis.
Cavaliers legend.
Boston Celtics legend, Cavaliers legend. Ricky Davis was a ton of fun. He is a player that would thrive in today's NBA, I think. Guy just loves to chuck, loves to jump, and hates playing defense.
All right, so the referees in this game are refusing to call travels because Korkmaz just took about 13 steps. So there you have it.
See, and that's ridiculous because he's not a guy who should get away with, like, they should only give Korkmaz one step. Holy, how is that? Come on.
What? So he took 2 steps when he faked the pass.
Yeah.
Euro stepped and then took one more step towards the rim and made the bucket. So
that's when the refs do this and just fucking bail out the ball handler. They're just like it's Furkan Korkmaz. Who fucking cares? Looking at so Kevin Durant obviously not going to start. A friend of mine on Twitter, big Heat fan, like was shocked that there are no Heat starters because of the 1 seed. Obviously fan voting, but also even if it wasn't fan voting, I don't think any of these Heat guys have played enough games to be a starter. Yeah.
If they did, Bam would have made me and Joe's team without a question.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. I'm curious though. I think
Booker
that Jimmy has a shot.
Though. Booker's the fucking robbery. Like I know I had Luka.
I would say Luka, but Booker. I think
I'm just saying, in terms of those 2 1 seeds, like.
Yeah, the thing is, like, and that just is further proof that, like, the NBA, at least the NBA has adapted to so much where it just confuses me why the All-Star game just refuses to adapt to the positionless game that basketball now is, at least professional basketball. I mean, you have LeBron James playing, like, DraftKings even adapted and put LeBron James as center only for 3 straight slates. And you're telling me you can't give Luka a wing spot on the All-Star team? Like, come on. Come on.
We fucking pick teams anyways, so like, why are we constraining ourselves positionally?
Right,
like this?
Man, Dwight, you were brutal.
Nice game.
So we get reserves, I believe, next Thursday. When do we get 3-point contest, skills challenge, and
I think that
contest?
Starts to come out like
because that trickles out, doesn't it?
I think it's like during the week before Thursday.
Okay.
I feel like it's usually you get word. We talked about it, man. Like, give me Zach LaVine, give me Hamidou Diallo, give me Miles Bridges. I don't care who the 4th player is. I really don't.
I love that Diallo call. I want Miles Bridges, Diallo. You know, I was going to say Anthony Edwards, but he feels like much more of an in-game dunker. But he's like,
yeah, but we don't know. We already know he's a great in-game dunker. But give him the creativity on that platform. And by the way, Miles Bridges, LaMelo is going to be with him.
Oh my God!
What could they draw up?
As long as Eric Collins is with them, he's gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
That's
on the mic.
Yeah.
So Charlotte was already a popular League Pass favorite team coming into the season, and then if that was a selection you made that you wanted to watch all the Charlotte games, it was solidified the second you heard the announcers. They like so good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna attempt to mimic them, but they're phenomenal. I think the other thing with Anthony Edwards, like his swagger, I've like fallen in love with Anthony Edwards this season. Like he is so much fun to watch. He's a very good perimeter defender. Scoring is becoming a little more efficient, but he's also just so much fun. So
he might be an all-star next year.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
I mean, if Andrew Wiggins drops out. I'm gonna be so mad about this for 3 weeks.
No, it's gonna be 3 weeks, and then you're gonna be like, oh, finally got over Andrew Wiggins, and then you're gonna see him suit up for the All-Star game. You're gonna be triggered for another 3 weeks. So it's gonna be a 6-week process. 3 weeks puts us at the All-Star game.
I'm gonna be on vacation that weekend because like the only time in the
you're gonna watch the game. You're gonna watch the game.
I don't know.
I know, Zach. You are going to watch the game.
What if Murray gets in? Then you are watching.
Yeah,
he's watching the game without his pants on at that point.
And then I'm not gonna watch the first rotation, so I don't have to watch Wiggins fucking play. I will correct myself in my my Spurs haze. There are 10 rookies all time that have made the All-Star game. I believe 6 of them before Duncan, Grant Hill, Shaq, Mutombo, David Robinson, Pat Ewing, Hakeem, and MJ. And
So
then
who are the 4 after Duncan?
Zach, only 2 after Duncan. So, my math, not the best.
Nah,
math
that was
is hard.
pretty brutal.
Yao Ming and Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin, that's right. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Blake Griffin's was 75% entertainment value.
Sure.
So
that was technically his second year, though, right?
Yeah, because he sat out his first entire year, and he won Rookie of the Year, and that was like the running joke.
I'm just glad because when it got announced, because it was announced obviously LeBron, Jokic, and the next announcement was I think Wiggins, and everybody's like, whoa, and me and Zach were on stream, and we were like, Ja better be getting in as a starter, like this better, and then of course it ended up being still Steph and Ja, so. Yeah, we didn't talk about Ja really yesterday, but we talked about Embiid stretch. Ja's been going for 35 real points like it's nothing. He's been ridiculous too.
Yeah, he's been.
Davis is back in, by the way. He just checked back in.
Yeah, I saw it.
Which is actually kind of encouraging because they said when the report came out, it was like he's questionable. He's able to return, but they will evaluate him at halftime. When I heard that, I was like, they might just sit him. They might just sit him until halftime and then evaluate him, but he's back in.
He's literally holding his wrist whenever he's off ball.
Look, dude, I'm not saying that he's never been injured because obviously he has. Like the knee injury he just had was an injury, but
his pain tolerance has to be
it's the lowest in human history. He's
my God, Austin Reeves is just chucking. What do you? Jesus.
I want to know how long he's gone without taking a trip to the locker room or missing a game. Like, what's his longest streak in his NBA career?
My guess would be
double digits. Games. Is it double digits?
I think my guess is 8 games.
Well, what was it like his rookie year?
Like without going to the locker room.
I don't know.
I don't know who, if anybody has ever kept track of this or how we could, but
either there are 2 sources that may know, StatMuse or Justin Pham. Those are the 2 sources that I think would know.
Well, and this is this is why he can't, in my opinion, should never be mentioned with any of the greats that people have compared him to over
He was just dribbling the ball, and he was avoiding dribbling with his right hand.
Is this a hot take, or I don't think he's a top 75 player of all time?
No, I would have Clay in over him.
I would have Dwight in over him.
I was going to say I would have Dwight over him.
Yeah.
There's I guess
I know Joe loves the takes of Anthony Davis is better than Giannis, which was not true for the last couple years. But
this hasn't been true since before AD was on the Lakers. The minute that Giannis won his first MVP, that put all of that to bed. Neither have had a championship. Drew couldn't win a championship with Anthony Davis. I mean, we had all, and we talked about it before. We had thought when DeMarcus Cousins got traded to New Orleans, we were like, "Oh my God!" We've never seen.
They looked good for a couple weeks.
They looked really good for a couple weeks. They were both scoring 30 a game, 12 boards, lackadaisical defensively. But what do you expect with those two? Mm-hmm. And the wheels just fell off. But the thing is, in hindsight, that was never going to work ever. That's like a Brandon Jennings and Monte Ellis backcourt, and the fact that I got excited over that in 2009. That was never going to fucking work. Are you kidding me? Speaking of random jerseys and player shirts, I think my most random. Yes, I'm a Bucks fan. Still random. To Bobby Simmons. I had a Bobby Simmons Bucks jersey,
nice.
And I had a John Salmons Bucks jersey. But he was like a Milwaukee hero who came mid-season from was it Chicago or Sacramento? I can't remember.
I know he was on.
He was on
Philly.
One before the Bucks, one after, and ended our playoff drought by just putting the team on his back. John Salmons, of all people, he was great.
Who says anything involving Boogie is never going to work? I was entertained by 10-day contract Boogie getting tossed out of the game last night. He never. He
got off to a better start than Jokic did. I don't want to hear it.
Boogie is Boogie, and he's not going to change. And I love him for it.
I love Boogie. He is one of my favorite players. Most people, this is a hot take. I think he's one of the most likable players. He's just real, and that's what I like. Yeah, he has a hot temper and stuff, but he's real. He calls things out. The thing a couple weeks ago before his 10-day was not renewed with the Bucks, when he just wanted to sign someone's jersey, the DeMarcus Cousins lookalike, and he told the security guard, "Stop taking your job so seriously. I can sign a shirt if I want." Like, there was that, or what was the famous? It was the year in Sacramento where he got tossed like every 5 games, and he was like, "I hope people see what's really going on right now because it's getting ridiculous." Like,
Yep.
I had a turn on his back. I have that video saved in my meme folder in my phone. It's phenomenal.
Tyreek says he went to John Salmon's camp as a kid, grew up down the street from where Tyreek lived.
Oh, I went to Tom Crean basketball camp when he was at Marquette, and various guests anywhere from Steve Novak, Dwayne Wade, Travis Diener, some good dudes.
Sat next to Tom Crean recruiting a couple times.
Really?
Yeah. He's all right.
He's done. He's retired now from coaching, I believe, right? He's not at IU anymore.
No, he's not. He's not at IU, but I feel like he got another job.
Did he? I'm looking it up right now.
Well, I have the internet right here.
He just got I was saying Jersey retired. He just had a ceremony at Marquette. Yes. Yeah.
I couldn't have told you that without Google though. So
speaking of, I guess I'm going to divert for a second. College coaches. Chris Mack done, and he is done in Louisville, and he updated his bio to retired basketball coach. So I don't know if he's coming back. Should never left Xavier. I'm telling you, should have never left.
like a nice night in Philly there. A little outdoor shot.
Just that's the 2K shot right there.
Yeah.
And they introduce your game. That is a 2K shot. God, I'm ready to fire up 2K again. I every year would just run with the Bucks and do a fantasy draft every year. It was just so much fun. 30-team fantasy drafts are a blast.
It's a great question here by Tyreek. Who's the best college player that turned pro that each of us have seen play live? In college, turned pro. I think mine's going to win in terms of caliber of player, but I want to hear y'all's.
The thing is, I didn't go to a lot of college basketball before I was in college at Xavier. So from Xavier, I'm not like good talents like Edmund Sumner, Trayvon Blewett, those guys, but not good NBA players. So Edmund Sumner's carved out a career.
Yeah. So I was born in upstate New York, so I was a huge Syracuse fan and still am. Grant? But I didn't. Well, here's the thing: I didn't go to a ton. I was gonna say I didn't go to a ton of Syracuse basketball games. So I didn't get to see Melo. I didn't get to see those teams. But I believe I either saw Jeremy Grant or Michael Carter Williams, those teams.
Ooh, those are good ones. Those are good.
Waiters.
Michael Carter Williams was Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly if I switched. So mine would probably be Carter Williams, Jeremy Grant, or Waiters.
We have producer Thomas chiming in. O'Shea Brissett, Jeremy Grant.
Go Orange.
Yo, didn't do anything in the NBA, but CJ Fair. Loved CJ Fair.
I know mine. Mine, and again, mine are going to be recent. I graduated college in 2017. I'm young. I think mine are Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Dante DiVincenzo, Eric Paschal. I saw that Villanova team twice a year. Who else? You know who I thought was going to be kind of good in the NBA was Isaiah Whitehead from Seton Hall. Didn't really amount to anything. He was really good in college. Speaking of college players, made the NBA, didn't do anything. I was at the in Jacksonville. This was 2015. The Georgia State RJ Hunter game. I was there, and that was nuts. I've never been in a louder building than RJ Hunter's game winner over, I believe it was Baylor in 2015. That was a lot of fun.
Zach, who's yours?
A man by the name of Kevin Durant. Growing up in Austin next to the Burnt Orange, had some basketball benefits.
We'll look at the results later, but we'll say you won for now.
You won. TJ Warren is another one for me. He just diced Xavier up in the first
NC State.
NC State, yeah, he was really, really good. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole now of like different teams I saw. I'm just trying to think.
Does this count? I went to a Temple game once, and Bede was courtside.
You know what? I'm sure when I was really young, I went to a Dwayne Wade game at Marquette, but I was like 7 years old, so I said it doesn't count. It's like,
that Texas team was fucking fun, man. DJ
Augustine,
LMA,
Damian James.
They had LMA too, right? Before that,
LMA was before that,
yeah.
Damian James, yep, that was one. Kevin Durant, DJ Augustine, that was a good team.
Dexter Pittman was.
You
there.
remember the old Florida teams?
Oh yeah, Al Horford,
Oh, yeah.
Noah,
Corey Brewer.
Brewer.
Corey Brewer was good, man. He was
He
really
was.
good in college.
You know, I miss those old Illinois teams. Remember D Brown?
Mhm.
D Brown was so good in college. He was like my favorite college player ever, I swear. And that was back when Maryland had like Juan Dixon. Like those were
Hey,
some teams.
Darren
man.
Williams went to Illinois, didn't he?
Yeah.
Professional boxer Darren Williams. I'm sure that.
Let's see.
God,
T Panther says he saw Dwayne Wade at his freshman year at Marquette.
Marquette.
03.
Yep. McCollum at Lehigh was so fun.
Yeah, McCollum.
He was so fun.
Yeah, Terry said McCollum, Jeremy Lamb, and
Shabazz
Napier.
Shabazz Napier was at
McCollum
UConn.
at Lehigh was what, like 5'9", and just hooping.
That's right.
Josh wins for me. He said he saw every one of Kawhi's home games. Camped out for tickets against Jimmer when he was at San Diego
State. Remember the game Lehigh beat Duke in the tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That game was
how about
crazy.
question in a similar fashion? Who is the best college player you've seen live that didn't make the NBA?
Half the players I watched
or didn't pan out in the NBA.
CJ Fair was really good in college. Didn't do anything in the
Bronson
NBA.
Koenig, as much as I hate him, was really damn good at Wisconsin.
Chris Joseph was good. It's like I could just name a bunch of Syracuse players. That's Chris Joseph, CJ Fair.
Bronson Koenig also slid in
Tyler
Zion Williamson.
Tyler Ennis.
Right.
Tyler Ennis was good. He was a rotation player for a little bit, but
that's a great answer by Dello. Bryce Cotton. That dude could score the fucking ball.
Yeah, I forgot. He had a very small stint in the NBA, didn't he?
Summer league.
I thought he signed. He went undrafted, I believe. I want to look this up because I feel like he either had a 10-day or something. Maybe it was just G League. Hold on, let me.
T Panthers, if it wasn't enough to see Dwayne Wade, says he also saw Steph his freshman year at Davidson.
Oh my god. So he's in the NBL right now, Bryce Cotton, for the Perth Wildcats.
Has anybody ever seen Adam Morrison?
He played 3 years. He played 23 total NBA games.
Hey, NBA champion Adam Morrison, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bronson Koenig's up there for me. Bronson Koenig also slid into my sister's DMs when she was 16, so that's cool.
Yeah, Thomas says Mark Dolage from Syracuse.
I've just never to be transparent. I've never, outside of my tenure at Xavier, because it's such a big basketball school, I've never really just been a big college basketball guy. I've always, especially as a kid, loved the NBA. Where when you're young, if you're not,
just caught an oop, so I'm about to get off the stream.
Great. We got a couple minutes, anyways. But if Korkmaz is sending us off with an oop, then I don't really know how to take it. But yeah, as a kid, living in Milwaukee, I could have attached myself to University of Wisconsin and Madison, but there's no team to really attach yourself to. And when that's the case, there's just too much to pay attention to, in my opinion. Oh god, that Adam Morrison picture is so dirty.
You know he didn't shower, right?
I know. That interview came out 4 years ago. That was semi-recent when that surfaced. Was it a podcast or just an interview? Because I remember that. I remember that it caught wave on Twitter a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god. I would have loved to see, as much as I bash Westbrook, seeing him and Kevin Love at UCLA would have been really cool. And the physical transformation Kevin Love went through. Minnesota Kevin Love, one of the most dominant big men in recent NBA history. He's getting 26 and 15 a game.
He had so many 2020 games.
I know.
Speaking of body transformations, have you seen the pictures of Jimmer Fredette as a kid?
No.
Chubby boy.
Is it like Jokic?
I guess, yeah, kind of similar. I'll see if I can find it. So, a bunch of my college teammates were from upstate New York, so they knew Jimmer, and they would show me pictures of them with Jimmer when he was younger, and it just, did not look the same. Let me see if I can find a picture.
Jimmer was nuts, dude. He was unbelievable.
Here, I'll post this in the Discord here.
Let's take a look. Oh my god, that looks like a picture out of you would watch A Christmas Story, and that's where you think it came from. Dear Lord, that's honestly really similar to. I mean, obviously, you guys have seen pictures of Giannis as a kid, But there's this picture, and I know I'm biased.
Oh, you're reminding me. I need to get back into that the Giannis book. I was reading. So good.
Dude, I haven't even finished it yet, but it's really good. This picture of Giannis as a child is unbelievable.
Fuck off. Oh man,
I sent a picture of a goat for those that aren't watching.
I can't even be mad because like Giannis, like I don't know. As someone who doesn't care about the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis might go down as like one of my 10 favorite players ever. He's just everything
Zach,
about
if you
him.
have I'm unbiased. Like the book is incredible.
It's really good.
Like it is unbelievable.
Like you know about some of like his background and his upbringing, but
like all the stuff about him like starving himself
ridiculous.
so his family could eat, then going to practice and passing out because he's malnourished. Things like it's unbelievable. He actually had to overcome to get to where he is.
He's amazing.
How quickly he did it. Like he was doing this stuff at 16 years old and got drafted 2 years later in the NBA. Had no idea what he was getting himself into. Quick before we get out of here, one of the coolest things about my old job was like the fact that obviously player interaction is cool. Like I used to get to dap up players in the tunnel and stuff. Boban being one of them, and talk about a terrifying human being in person. Holy shit, Boban Marjanovic might take the cake for me. Derrick Rose is probably the coolest person I've ever interacted with, though. Actually, the first game I ever worked with the Bucks at the old arena, it was the only arena left in the NBA where both teams and all personnel came out in the same tunnel, which led to issue Matt Barnes and John Henson got into it in a tunnel, things like that. Like that would happen all the time. Walked in my first game, some entry-level sales associate making like $20K a year, like no idea what I'm getting myself into. I bump in, I'm like looking down at my portfolio, like, oh, who am I meeting with tonight? I bump into someone, I look up, I literally shit you not, it was a home opener in 2017, bumped into LeBron James, who was next to J.R. Smith, Kevin Love, and I was like I crapped myself. I was like, oh my God. But one of my old season ticket holders, I think he's actually talked about in the Giannis book. I haven't gotten to that part yet, but was driving in downtown Milwaukee and saw Giannis like middle of winter walking around without a jacket. So he pulled over. He's like, "You okay? What's going on?" It was a Sunday. He was looking for an open bank to cash his paycheck and send it home and wire it home. My season ticket holder gave him a ride back and said like, "Yo, banks aren't open on Sundays," but like just I don't want to say oblivious. He wasn't oblivious. Just the naive isn't the best word, but just how unaware he was and how young innocent. He was. Like he's innocent. So innocent and like it's the best way to put it. I think that just caters more to his strongly to his likability.
Did you see Giannis's
Tyler Hansworth?
Did you see Giannis's press conference after the game yesterday?
Yeah, he didn't give a shit. He comes in with a bucket of wings. He's like, "So how do you feel the game?" He's like, "We suck." Just diving into his wings. He doesn't give a shit. It's a December game on a Wednesday night.
It's not December, but
or January. Same, whatever. Same thing. God, man.
Last
Try
thing
having a 1-year-old child waking up at 4 a.m. every day and trying to keep track of your damn dates.
Last thing I wanted to touch on was Hugo saying that he played pickup against Eduardo Nájera when he was in college.
Ooh.
Fuck Eduardo Nájera. One of my least favorite players in NBA history. Dirty as fuck. And Hugo says he wasn't a super nice guy, to be honest, kind of a dick. I believe you. I guarantee you played against Eduardo Nájera then. Fuck that guy.
I just saw the most annoying thing one of the most annoying things in sports in attendance. We're obviously watching this game.
Mm-hmm.
There is a 2016, 2017 LeBron Cavs jersey somebody's wearing. Like, what are you doing?
That would have been you if you went to the game tonight.
No, he would have been wearing his.
I hate when you wear a jersey of a team that's not even playing at that.
The worst part is if you wear a jersey of a sport that you're not at the event of. Like, what are you doing going to like the amount of Aaron Rodgers jerseys I see at Brewers games or Bucks games? That's
different though.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not the same city. It's 2 hours away. It's not the same, and that triggers me. You're at a basketball game.
Okay, actually,
I'm a sports fan.
I'll give whoever this is a little bit of slack because I forgot LeBron is out tonight, so I'm assuming they were just a LeBron fan. But still, like,
read the damn
upgrade to an LA jersey, you clown.
Or just have like an Austin Reeves jersey ready to go.
NBA does the jersey.
Oh, wow. You see, before we really get out, like we have a cutoff in a couple of seconds, but Thomas, producer behind the scenes, sat next to Kanye at a Big 3 game this summer. That's sick. Also, Donda 2 dropping in a couple weeks. That's going to be sick.
God, dude, I could give a shit about that. Not about sitting next to Kanye, but like, dude, I'm just like,
I love Kanye.
Yeah.
Kanye's music.
Dude, even then, like, I haven't liked Kanye's music for like a decade. That used to be my shit. Late registration,
So Kanye,
college dropout, like
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, all that. But the thing is, it's timeless.
He started to lose me there.
Oh, that's my favorite Kanye album. I also like my shit was Kid Cudi in high school, so that can probably lead you down the path of what kind of kid I was in high school. But I love Kid Cudi. Well, excuse me. We're at the hour mark. We're at about halftime of this game. This is fun.
Yeah, I love it.
I think
we'll have to do it again, man. Like if we can, if Thomas is willing to hang out for the extra hour.
I think next time we bring Thomas on. I think it's a little disrespectful to have him hidden behind the glass like we're at a zoo. I think we'll bring Thomas on next time, and we'll have an hour-long Syracuse.
We've got Thursday TNT games the rest of the way because there's no football.
That's right. The world is right again. I like it. Thomas said, this is what I'm going to leave us with. Thomas said, my shit was Taylor Swift in high school. Still is. Taylor Swift is fire. I'm not gonna deny that. Well, am I signing us off, or am I the guest in this one?
You can sign us off. Or
I'll sign us off, and Thomas, for the first time ever, we're gonna include the bean cutout on the podcast.
On the pod.
That's what we need. That will get people to subscribe. I can tell you that right now.
If we start doing this semi-regularly, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, we could do a lot of things. I know Dello wants to come back on the pod. I know Triple H wants
to come back on.
Yeah,
we need to tilt off. We need to make like an on-stream mini game with tilting and have some. We'll brainstorm this.
Yeah.
But as always, for Joe, for Zach, for Adam, thank you guys for joining us. We're gonna do this a little more often and just kind of go unstructured, shoot the shit, have you guys get involved, just have some fun and talk basketball. So one of my favorite things about the NBA is just like reflecting on like my lifetime as a fan and just bringing up like the fact that I thought about Danny Granger today. Like, what the fuck am I doing? But it was fun. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back on next week, Tuesday, with a podcast. Probably talking about hopefully maybe some dunk contest candidates, some 3-point, whatever's announced in the interim. We'll be back. So for Joe, for Adam, for Zach, this is the FTN NBA podcast. And shout out Thomas behind the scenes. We'll see you next time. And as always,
let's get these beans.